Hi everyone,
Hi
good
everyone.
afternoon from Utrecht, or good morning, or even good evening, depending on whereabouts in the world you are watching from. Thank you for watching patiently. I know you've been chatting already for about 10 minutes. Welcome to this webinar about housing for international students. My name is Daphna. I work for the International Marketing and Recruitment Department here at Utrecht University, and here with me is...
Yeah, I'm Josh. I'm an international student here. I'm in my third year of my bachelor. That's the College of Pharmaceutical Sciences. I'm originally from the UK, so I've kind of experienced a bit of everything and hopefully get to share that with you today. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Josh and I are not alone today, as you probably already know because you have been chatting for about 10 minutes. So we're here with a huge crew, which you cannot see, sorry, and it's colleagues from several departments, from the International Admissions Office, from the Housing Office, from the International Office, Exchange Office, etc. They're Len, Lotta, Arlinda, Laura, Dennis, Hans,
And the rest.
Sarah and Tessa. And
Yeah.
I wanted to make a point of that because those are the people you never see on screen, but they're doing an amazing job behind there. So they are on chat throughout the presentation. You can ask them all the questions down there in that little chat box. I want to point out that this is the busiest webinar we've ever had so far. I cannot quite see, but I think we have almost 500, 470 people right now. So there's 470 of you guys watching live. Thank you. It's awesome, but it also means we probably won't be able to answer all your questions in the chat box. So we will get back to you at the end of the presentation with an email address, and we'll just let you know where you can drop us a line with questions. If there's any technical difficulties, also put them in the chat box, and my colleagues will try to do their best, okay? Have I missed anything? Oh, very important. This is being recorded, so if we go too fast or if you've missed anything, you'll get a link tomorrow. You'll be able to see us and you'll be able to see the presentation again. So let's get started. Why are we doing this actually? Well, Josh is an international student, so he will share his experience throughout the presentation, but finding housing when you have decided to come to Utrecht is obviously one of the most important things, and we know the housing market is quite tight. Utrecht is a very popular student city, both for Dutch students as well as international students. So the demand for student housing is very, very high, and students find it difficult to find affordable housing or housing in general, and it's very time consuming. So we will be sharing tips and tricks with you. The presentation basically consists of two parts. The Utrecht housing market, where we'll share a little bit about the different types of accommodation, where do students live, like budgeting, things like that, and ways to find housing. And then Josh is going to share all his experiences here. So we don't know if you guys have been reading up. I do like to kick off also this presentation by saying everything is online. When you go to uu.nl/housing, the housing team, Len and Lotte, have done an amazing job of putting everything online. It's very, very clear. There's a clear table of contents. So at any point in time, if you're stressed or you have questions, please visit that website because literally everything is on there. If you have been doing your research, maybe you know that Dutch universities, not just us, but all of them, they don't own their own student housing. So therefore, we, Utrecht at least, also cannot guarantee student housing. So we do cooperate with 4 big housing providers in the city, where we reserve a limited amount of rooms. These are a large part of these rooms are studios. This corporation is called the UU Reserved Accommodation. So let's talk about that first. You'll also see some photos here on the screen of what it looks like. So the UU Reserved Accommodation is basically where we work together with these partners, and it's furnished student housing. Okay, so you don't have to schlep your own bed and curtains from abroad. It's all taken care of for you right here. I do want to stress it's limited availability for new international students. And it can be booked from abroad. I already know that in the beginning there was a question in the chat, can I already book my housing from Peru or Poland? I don't know where you were. Yes, this is possible with this program. There's no viewing, so you don't have to come and view the room. You can already book them from abroad. The contracts are for a fixed period, which is a year. This also means if you decide you don't like it after 6 months, you won't be able to leave. yeah, so just keep that in mind. And as I said before, they're often private studios, so not shared dorms. The majority are private studios. We will come back to this particular program later on. We'll take you through the steps of how to go about it. Josh will explain also a little bit. So basically, the UU reserved accommodation, this is the way that Utrecht University works together with the 4 housing providers where international students can sign up. Because of the very, very limited availability, the majority of the students will have to find housing by themselves. This is often unfurnished student housing. So I really want to stress this is not available through the UU. This is finding housing by yourself, which the majority of you guys will have to do. There's several ways of going about this. We will get back to this also. We have plenty of tips and tricks. Listen well, because Josh also has them. One of the things that involves this process is a process called hospiteren, which basically is as simple as a viewing. It's like a group viewing. We'll get back to that also. It is up to you guys. So if you rent this room, to furnish it yourself, so you will have to bring your own stuff. And usually finding your own accommodation like this takes a while, and you have to be persistent. So I'm going to turn to you now, Josh, and ask you maybe to share a little bit about your background with accommodation here in Utrecht or outside of Utrecht that you've had.
Maybe best to start from the start, I think. I started in 2016, so that's 3 years ago now nearly. And I started with the International Reserved Housing.
Okay.
So I lived just outside of the city in another town called Zeist.
Okay.
So that was obviously commuting every day. It was a really nice opportunity because you got to move in with furniture already there, and you could get the bedding from them as well if you wanted. Mm-hmm. Also, a really nice mix of students in our house. It wasn't one of the studios; it was a shared house. So we had 10 of us, all other internationals, all having the same new experience in the Netherlands. So that was also really nice to start from the same point as everyone.
All right, guys, I quickly want to say something. Please don't mention or give out your phone number or your email address in this chat, because the chat will also be visible. It's public, and it's not very GDPR friendly. It's for your own safety. We actually have a Facebook group for new students. Sorry to interrupt you. No. We have a Facebook group for new students that are going to be joining us. You should have all received the link. If not, we will include it in the follow-up email. Please connect with each other through that and not here. Thank you very much. Sorry, Josh.
So that was my first year, and then the second year I found private housing through one of the internet websites, and that's another very different experience. I think we'll get to that later. Yeah. And now this year I have another option, which we'll come to at the end. I think
which is really cool because Josh actually went through like the 3 sort of stages of housing that we were going to discuss with you. So if you have any questions for Josh, also feel free to put them in the chat. My colleagues will forward them to us and we will discuss them afterward. Josh started out in the UU reserved accommodation during his first year, and as I mentioned before, that's a 1-year fixed contract. Then he moved on to finding housing on the private market. So Josh, you probably went through the process of attending a group viewing, how we call it, Dutch hospiteren, which I think people find very scary. It's actually very simple. It's almost like doing an interview for the room. So it's a process where the current tenants in a shared house want to choose the next person who comes to live there. And usually how that's done is by inviting any student that has expressed interest in that specific room for like an open evening. Mm-hmm. So can you tell a little bit more about how that is for you? Maybe you have any tips, tricks, funny stories, weird stories?
It's perhaps one of the weirdest job interviews of your life. It is very much like a job interview. The Dutch like to do things quite formally. So it's often 4 or 5 people who want to come and live there, are there with the rest of the housemates, and you can have some drinks, some snacks, and you basically get to know each other a little bit. Mm. It's quick elevator pitch about yourself, where you're from, your background. I think it's pretty fun, actually. We in my current house, we're going to have one in a few weeks.
So you get to be there.
So I get to be the thing, So it's actually quite a nice evening, I think. And the important thing is to just enjoy yourself whilst you're at it. Relax, have some drinks, have some chat, and explain where you're from, your background, what you're going to do here, and just all about you, so they get to know you on a more personal level, because
that's basically all that they want to know.
That's what they want to know.
They want to know if there's a connection, right? If you
exactly, because you've got to share that room or that house with the person for the coming year, 2 years, 3 years, maybe. So you want to make sure that they're the right fit for the house, maybe. And yeah, I can understand it. I think it's quite logical.
Okay.
But,
Brian also, by the way, Brian wants to know, Josh, why you moved out of the short stay.
Yeah, so the short stay that you get in the first year, that's limited to 1 year. So that's a fixed contract.
Yeah.
And it's really nice because it's obviously guaranteed for 1 year. But then after that year is up, you have to then find your own place.
Yeah.
So I think I started with about 2 months left at the end, trying to look for a new place to move to. And I found one with about a month and a half
to go.
Yeah, so you want to, that's another thing that we maybe will come to later. But,
yeah, we will certainly.
But having places rented at the same time isn't uncommon here, because you have to move from room to room more.
Yeah, it's one of the things we will discuss later. I want to stress again that this is the process of like attending a group viewing is when you look in the private market. So it's not through the UU reserved accommodation program, just so you know. So we're moving on to the housing budget. Utrecht is actually a city where the rents are higher than in most other Dutch cities. I think this is something not a lot of people realize, but yeah, it is true. And affordable options are in high demand, so very, very difficult to get. And besides the monthly accommodation fees, you should also really consider things like one-time fees. Maybe you're looking for options through agencies, so you have like mediation fees or what else? Yeah, contract fees, deposits, things like that. We'll get to that in the next slide. But these are all extra costs that you have to calculate. And the way Josh, you just pointed that out, you may face double costs because you may have a fantastic opportunity to move into a new apartment, but you're still attached to your old contract. So you may have like 1 or 2 months double rent. So you have to calculate those things. And what we really advise you to do also already beforehand, calculate your monthly budget and put yourself on the higher end of the scale, just to avoid any nasty surprises. This is what we estimate for the monthly rents. It's 400 to 1,000 euro per month, and I do have to say this completely depends on the type of accommodation. So is it a room in a shared flat? Is it a studio? Are you living in the heart of the city? Are you living in Zeist or outside? But this is the range. So use this and work with this when you calculate. We mentioned the additional one-time fees and as well as the down payments or deposit. This can be in the form of 1 or 2 months rent. It depends usually on the private market. Also, people can come up with these things themselves. So we can't tell you that in advance, but just keep it into mind.
Also, a good tip maybe is if you find somewhere that's a little bit more expensive than you want, and you want to move, move there for a short term and then find something cheaper down the line, because I started paying more than I am now. So you eventually move to different places which cost less and less.
Yeah.
You find better accommodation for less prices. So maybe don't be too afraid to spend near the top of your budget, but eventually it can come down with time.
That's a good tip. That's definitely a good tip. Towards the end, we're going to give the end of the presentation, we'll give you more tips, but this is already a very good one. When it comes to looking for accommodation on the private market, there are often several, I would say a lot of candidates that may be interested in the same housing. And usually private landlords will require you to submit statements of income. So this is also where it gets tricky. The fact that you can afford a house based on what the monthly rent is advertised for doesn't mean you're necessarily going to get it, because there's a lot of competition. Please go to uu.nl/housing. There's a lot of explanation on this process also on there. Another thing I quickly want to touch upon, or at least mention so that you guys know it and you can do more research about it, is rent allowance. Rent allowance is so-called subsidy by the Dutch tax office, basically to help make housing a bit more affordable. And in certain situations, you could be eligible for it. For example, when it's self-contained housing, and there's some other criteria. So you can find more information. I think the link is mentioned on the slide. Please note, this is not like a UU law. It's a Dutch government, Dutch tax law. So any questions, you guys have to turn to the Dutch tax office. There is a live question that I quickly want to answer. The question is there housing for couples in the reserved accommodation program? Because we do know that sometimes a lot of you come with your spouses, boyfriend, girlfriend. There is one of the 4 housing providers, which is called Camelot. This is the only housing that is typically suitable for couples. It also offers a double bed. The thing is, Camelot's only available for degree-seeking students, so the students that are committing to doing their entire degree here, because the rental contracts are fixed for a year, and the numbers are very limited. So it's all on the website when you go to uu.nl/housing. The left-hand column has a bunch of topics there, and you will be able to find Camelot in there. So we'll get to it later. All right. Where do students live? Where do students live, Josh?
Yeah.
Where do you live?
In a house.
Wonderful. I'm so happy.
So maybe one of the best thing about the Netherlands is it is so flat. No offense, but it is a very flat country. So it's very easy to get between places by bike, for example. There's also really good public transport.
Yeah.
So a lot of people aren't afraid to live further out than they might otherwise. I know several people who live in surrounding villages still. Maybe over in a different city because they can get the train every morning.
Yeah,
it's not unusual. I think that's also good to understand that you can live in a different town or city to where you to Utrecht, especially if you're going to be studying in the city centre. It's very easy to get there with buses and trains straight from the central station. Getting to the science park is a little bit more busy because everyone's heading there on every morning. But it's still definitely possible from other towns and cities.
I think actually this picture that you guys are seeing is not on true to what can happen in the
morning.
mornings.
That was 9 o'clock this morning.
Traffic jam on the bicycle. Yeah, no, it's true that a lot of students want to live in Utrecht and then also in the historical city center, which is absolutely gorgeous. But yeah, it's tough. We already mentioned why. So like Josh said, there's a lot of like neighboring smaller towns that are within cycling distance, especially you'll have an overview here, cycling distance from the Utrecht Science Park for those of you that are doing science-related courses or city center, and great public transportation network as well. I live in Rotterdam myself. I commute every day about 30-35 minutes. So it is possible. If you decide to do that, you got to keep in mind that you will pay transportation costs, so you got to add that to your budget. But yeah, it's doable.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I lived in Zeiss for my first year, like I said, and to get to the science park, that's actually better than where I live now. But I preferred living close towards the city because of what I do socially. So I thought, well, I'll move towards the city. But actually, if you want to get to the science park really easily every morning, Zeiss is a better choice than the city. So.
Well, there you go. So especially for the ones that are going to do some life sciences, natural sciences, social behavioral sciences, look into that option. You don't need to live in the city center. There's actually a really interesting question, and as I don't live in Utrecht, Josh, you can weigh in. Is Utrecht a safe city in general in terms of crime rates?
Yeah. From what
you feel fine. You're still here.
Yeah, I haven't left. So no, I think actually Utrecht, one of the biggest crimes is bike theft. So that's another presentation that the international office does. So if that's your biggest crime that goes on, then I think there's not too much wrong with the city. There are obviously other areas. There are better areas and worse areas.
Although we have to say there are. Utrecht is generally a safe city, but it's still, like Josh said, it's still a city, My colleagues are telling me, obviously, things can happen here. We don't live in a fabulous paradise bubble. So you, like any other city in Amsterdam or New York or Ho Chi Minh City, wherever you're from, you need to be, smart about it, keep your wits about yourself, and keep an eye on your belongings, I guess.
Nothing exceptional.
Yeah. And student housing can be found all over the city, outside the city. And when you go to uu.nl welcome to Utrecht, and I know this link is going to be coming to you way more throughout the next coming weeks. There's also a map of Utrecht, the Netherlands, and how everything is like spread out. So you will be able to find more information there. Well, this is something that is actually quite important, and we had to mention it because housing is so popular. There are always bad people out there that just, want to make some money out of it. In general, as we just said, the Netherlands are quite safe, and usually the majority of the Dutch people are quite friendly. But yeah, bad people are everywhere. So we do have to warn you about this. Unfortunately, every year there are always situations that scammers try to post. They'll try to get your money by posting fake ads. And one of the things that they'll do is they'll post something, and then you'll respond to it, and then they'll say, yeah, sure, fabulous. Why don't you transfer me already 3 months rent and this and this? Don't do it. This is the first sign that it's not legit. I do know, for example, in the reserved accommodation, we will also ask you to transfer some things, but then we initiated that. It's the university. It's a different story. So please be aware of scammers. Always research the email address or the location or the website where you found it through. If you are uncertain, our housing team is ready to answer or to help you. So you can contact them and say, hey, I'm messaging with this person and they want this and this from me. Could you please tell me if it's legit? So please don't fall for this, because it breaks my heart when I see this. Ways to find housing. All right, well, this webinar, unfortunately, is too short to discuss everything in the world related to housing in and around Utrecht. So please, the most important thing you can do is go to the website uu.nl/housing and really read it all. It's so clear, it's so simple. You can click on everything. There's tips and tricks. There's even links to like agencies and housing platforms and everything. We have listed a few steps on how to start your search. So in this picture, you actually see the 4 main housing providers that we work with. Let's see. Okay, we're getting intel from the headquarters.
A lot of people are asking about this.
Yeah, a lot of people are asking, when can I apply for housing and which are the housing providers? Well, there you go. We came to the exact right moment. So these 4 are the housing providers: SSH, Xior, Holland to Stay, and Camelot. And Camelot was the one that we just also explained that allows options for like couples. So the thing is, and we'll walk you through this, the UU reserves a limited number of housing with these housing providers, as we said before. However, all these housing providers have different dates when it comes to the registration. So it's really important that you go to the website, uu.nl/housing. When you come to the landing page, you'll see 3 options, and you have to click which one you are. You're either an exchange student, international exchange or Erasmus student, or you're a degree-seeking student. When you click on those options, you will be guided to the next website where you can see the options that apply to you. So you have to check your eligibility. So to be eligible for this, as I said, you have to be either a new international Erasmus or exchange student. You have to be a new international degree student that is going to be enrolled in an English taught program for the first year. And for both of these groups, you have to live abroad. Then you're eligible. But for more detailed information, please go to this website and check the offerings with the housing providers. They all have different registration deadlines, different dates, different procedures. So you really need to go there and check what applies to you, okay? Offers fill up quickly. So please keep in mind that the reserved accommodation program may, it just may not be available anymore. So please research other options already beforehand. It's great that you want to apply for either one of this, but at the same time also research or start researching the private way. So that's the reserved accommodation program. Yeah, guys, uu.nl/housing, check which group you are, degree seeking student or international exchange student, and then research the options for these 4 housing providers. How to start your search as well. Spread your chances. These are a lot of platforms that we use here. You will know some of them, of course, to find housing. And I think here we can say also one of the things that you said before, like in the beginning, you actually budgeted for a bit more upscale, and now you're paying less.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think some of the other tips that we can give you guys, spread your chances, look broader than just like one search way. Spread the word as well. Let everyone know you're looking for accommodation. Be super vocal about it. I know that in supermarkets, like you can even leave like little messages, right, and stuff like that. Keep responding to ads, even if it's something you see that you're like, I don't know if I want that, right?
It's you can never respond to too many adverts. You can always say no if you find something better. So it's spreading your chances, like was said.
Yeah, spreading your chances. Don't be too picky, as we said. I mean, if you're going to start with something, in an area where you actually didn't see yourself living, start out anyway. You will move about, I don't know, many times.
Yeah,
you got quite lucky, I think.
Well, I've moved 3 times. I know people who've moved 4, 5, 6.
Yeah,
it's not unusual.
It's not unusual at all. So it's keep that in mind, absolutely. And try to stand out. Like also, especially if you search on the private market, you'll have to respond to ads by sending people like a private message. Any tips there? I mean, don't just say, hi, I'm Josh, looking for a room, bye.
No, so I think you have to put yourself in their shoes, maybe, is a good perspective to see from. They're getting hundreds of these messages per day. So what do they want to see? They want to see something that stands out. They want to see, why are you different and why should they pay attention to a message? So try and find the niche that you are, maybe.
Yeah.
I knew a girl who started this year. She was having this problem, and I said, well, okay, let me read your message. And she was just saying, hi, my name is blah 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 from blah blah blah.
Yeah.
The standard stuff. And I said, well, say something exciting about yourself.
Yeah, a bit more personal.
A bit more personal, exactly. If you can put a story behind yourself, I think people find that a lot more interesting to read, first of all, and then maybe invite you to a viewing or say that you could have a room. So
okay, good tips. We're getting a live question. When should I think a housing advert looks like scam? Yeah, that's a very good question. It's tricky. We do have tips and tricks on how to recognize a scam, again, on our website, uu.nl/housing. But we also say that often scammers will say that they live abroad, so they're not there to show you around. And then they ask you to transfer money. And then they say they will send you the key after that. Okay. I mean, I'm naturally don't trust things easily, but that sounds like a scam. So things like that, don't trust them. They have more sophisticated methods as well. And my colleagues say that unfortunately they do see quite some scamming through Facebook nowadays. So the only advice we can really give you, just don't transfer any money in advance before you have viewed the room. If it sounds too good to be true, it is too good to be true. So in case of doubt, don't take the risk, and also get in touch with our housing office to verify some things. Also broaden your search. We're a super small country. You guys probably know that, but the entire province of Utrecht, so the province of Utrecht, the yellow is the size of London. So it's small. It's small. It's just it's the way Josh said, you lived in Zeist.
Yeah.
And it was very doable. Just don't focus on living in Utrecht only. There are so many options. And like I said before, calculate the public transportation costs, because those aren't too cheap either. So you gotta keep that in mind. Another thing that you can do is consider arriving early. Quite some students do that. That way you can actually be in the country to attend those viewings, because the system is just based on those hospiteeravonden, the public viewing nights. So you have to be in town. So consider that. Do check the conditions for your visa. You can get in touch with the International Student Office for that. You can also consider for the beginning to stay in a hotel or a hostel. I know it's not ideal, and budget-wise, it's not something you want to do like long-term, but In the beginning, we do have a lot of students that do that. So they stay like a semester in temporary accommodation. There's more information as well that you can find on our website, and we have deals actually with a local hostel to get a bit of a discount. Also, make sure you book in advance, because also these types of accommodations fill out quickly, especially in the summer. There's also Airbnb, of course, that you guys are aware of. So yeah, keep that in mind. In a nutshell, I think the most important is to really not underestimate the time that it will take you to find something. Just really start several months in advance, even before, maybe some of you may not even have your admissions decisions yet, or you maybe have not confirmed your offer yet. Even then, just start thinking about it and start looking. Not all students find housing before the semester starts. Be persistent. You can find housing once you start and then throughout the semester. Reach out to a lot of people. Join the Facebook group, and then you can talk to each other there as well. I want to discuss something which is like the third option. If you guys remember that Josh talked about first being a year through reserved accommodation, then you lived by yourself in private accommodation, and now you live somewhere which you found through SSH Regular, right? So as you guys will remember, SSH is one of the housing providers that we work with. SSH Regular, I want to stress that it's not a part of the UU Reserved program. So, but SSH Regular basically means that you can register with SSH and you build up registration time. The more registration time you have built up, and I think you also need to successfully visit or attend a viewing.
I'm not 100% sure.
Okay, but you have to build up registration time, and then you can qualify for housing. So what we actually recommend you guys, especially if you're not coming, also if you're opting to stay in the Netherlands for longer than a year, so this is mostly for the degree seeking students, register with SSH. It's only about €7.50, I think, to register, and then you build up the waiting time. So it's worth it. Do you want to explain a bit more about that?
I actually think it's an option when you sign up for the reserved housing. You can also register for the regular. So I think they bundle it together.
Yeah, but you can actually already sign up now. Yeah, I know that some of you guys that are watching right now, you're opting maybe for a program at UU that starts in 2020.
Mm-hmm. Then you apply.
Feel free to already apply now, because maybe you can sort of bridge 1-2 years at somewhere else, and by the time you come here, you'll have something lined up. So yeah, it's worth checking out. It's usually unfurnished rooms. They're also for Dutch students, but also for international students. So there's a waiting list. It does involve group viewing, so it is the whole house interview thing.
For my accommodation now, I had about 2 years of waiting time built up. So that's kind of a scale of how long you have to wait for before you can actually get a place.
Yeah.
But at that point, it then comes down to your personality and do you fit with the house. So yeah, it's not an option immediately. Don't get your hopes up too much with that. But definitely, if you're here for more than 1 year, it's a perfect option.
Yeah. It won't be an option if you are starting this September. So don't think that. But if you're staying for longer, like Josh said, register. And if you're starting only in 1 or 2 years from now, definitely register now, because there is a quick question that came in. If rent allowance is an option for international students? Yeah, absolutely. Your nationality or the fact that you're not Dutch doesn't matter, as long as you stay in the Netherlands legally. So you need to register with the municipality and everything. Apart from that, there are a lot of very specific requirements that you have to fulfill in order to qualify for rent allowance. These are not related to your nationality, so that's a good thing. So it's just about other things. So we cannot advise you. As I mentioned before, when we discussed about rent allowance, it's a Dutch tax office thing. The Dutch universities have nothing to do with it. I do believe you can find information in English about that online. For sure. Check our website and just Google Dutch rent allowance. Probably also you'll get with the right people that you can ask your questions. But doesn't depend on the nationality. So I think we have reached the part of our Q&A where you guys are able to ask all your questions and we will answer them. So let me grab this.
Yeah, let's get the question.
The first one that's actually coming right now is if international students get a public transportation discount card. I know there's not a free card.
Unfortunately not. No, I'd love one.
Yeah, I'd love one too.
The way it works is it's based on the Dutch government, and if you work enough hours per month, then you can get the discount. That's again through the Dutch government, so it's not through the university.
Yeah, and you have to be an EU student. That's a bit more tricky.
It's tricky, but
yeah, there's no.
You can buy discounts from the rail company. They do offer routes that you can pay in advance, and you then don't pay when you travel. So you pre-buy your ticket basically. So that's also an option if you're going to be commuting every day. It makes sense to prepay your card, and then you get money off by doing that.
Lei asks if language will be a problem if we choose to live in the surrounding towns. Must we learn Dutch to survive? Must we, Josh?
I moved here not knowing any Dutch, so don't worry at all. It's one of the most English-friendly countries in the world, I think.
Yes,
so even old grandmas, even old grandpas, even toddlers speak English, so it's not a problem at all. In the supermarket every day, not a problem at all. You can do all your government stuff in English if you need to.
Yeah.
It's all it's facilitated.
So even in the smaller towns, you'll be fine. I think it's always cool if you're interested in learning a bit of Dutch, and you can actually also go to our website, and we're offering a free Dutch course, but that's another topic. But yeah, no, it's not an absolute must. Let's see. Jonas has a question, and he wants to know if it's possible to find a furnished room during a semester. Yes, it is possible, Jonas, with SSH short stay, for example, but only if you are an Erasmus or an exchange student. Degree-seeking students, so if you're coming here for like your full degree, you have a fixed contract of 1 year, and I don't think there's no way to end it before. If there is, I think you're probably going to pay a huge fine that's not worth it, but I don't think there is. So I hope that answers that question, Jonas.
Start on top, maybe.
Yeah.
So Christopher's asking about the present yourself evenings, the hospitierenavond, and whether you can do them via Skype. This was something that I have actually done with our house before. We did have people Skype to us.
Okay.
Obviously, you then have to make sure that you have like a laptop set up and make sure it's bearable for them to Skype you. Because we had some people with phones and stuff. So make it a decent experience, and I think people are open to Skyping.
Okay.
So obviously check if they're okay with it, but it is possible.
Yeah.
For sure.
Maybe I guess if you're not in the position to come to like a house viewing face to face, already put that in your initial introduction email, and make that email extra cool and fun, and say something about yourself. So Michaela wants to know if you worked while you studied, Josh.
I did actually. I worked from July till February this year, this academic year, but I stopped because I started my internship, which obviously would be like working 2 jobs. So I did work whilst I was studying here, and it's nice to have a little bit of extra money.
I do want to point out that you are EU nationality
still
for now. But so for I don't know what nationality you have, Michaela, but if you're not EU, it is a bit trickier. So
sure, because you then need to worry about permits and eligibility with your visa. But for EU students, it's easy and you can work like a Dutch person. So usually restaurants are quite simple to work in. And I worked in the kitchen, for example. Yeah. So it's up to you. Yeah. If you want to work, you can work.
Yeah. I just always, it's about balancing your time with work and studies and everything. I did just see a question pop by about how much you're paying for your room, but that disappeared. So
we can answer that one.
Yeah.
So someone asked how much do I pay.
We're
my
Dutch,
room.
though.
So money's not so for the first year I was paying 450. That was with the reserved accommodation. So it's on the lower end of the budget because it's outside of the city. Second year I paid around 500. But it was a bit more space, so I was okay with that. This year I'm now paying around 300 for a shared room in a house. So I've managed to do what I was saying about move somewhere slightly better, pay slightly less, and yeah, I'm happy with it at the moment.
Okay, excellent.
So yeah, it's obviously on the low end of what we recommend, but
yeah,
that's from coming abroad to moving here. So it's
yeah.
obviously gonna
A very, very good question from Mary. If Dutch students prefer to live with other Dutch students, or will they be okay living with international students?
Yes, I actually live with 7 Dutch people.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
seven Dutch people and 2 other internationals. So we're now a mixed house. When I moved there originally, I was the only international, but at that point, I did speak some level of Dutch.
Okay.
So I think they appreciate Dutch people, obviously in their own country, appreciate speaking their language. So you have to, yeah, you can understand that, I think. So trying Dutch with people is always fun.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, they don't mind it, but as long as you gezellig and can get along with it, I don't see why it's a problem. But
yeah.
Some people prefer.
There are always people, Mary, out there that prefer to live in their own little bubble, stay like this, and pretend the world is not an international place. Would you want to live with those people? I would say no, but no, it's in your search you will come across a variety of people. But one of the tips that we gave you is be persistent. So yeah, Lauren wants to know if you can buy furniture locally and what kind of stuff would you be expected to bring. Well, thank God for IKEA. Lauren, so
other furniture stores are available, but yeah, no, IKEA is what every student uses, I think.
Yeah, what would you typically bring with you? I mean,
what I bring
in terms of furniture.
Nothing. I didn't bring any furniture with me, so I was in the reserved, so that's furnished. But
yeah, but even if you go privately, so we have Marktplaats, which is like eBay-ish, and you can buy secondhand stuff from people. So there's
Facebook as well.
Facebook, yeah. There's loads of things. So. And consider also international students that have lived here and are leaving again, and maybe are looking to sell all of their stuff. So yeah, you'll be fine. Dennis wants to know if there are viewings. Are the viewings already ongoing, or when do they generally start? Well, yeah, that's continuing, right? It's not like it's
people move and
people move all the time. Yeah. So it's whenever someone moves out and a new person moves in. So it's not really, I would say it's not really related to the start or end or some academic year, because if you're a student and you live in housing and you maybe buy your own flat and you move out, then something opens up as well. So they're ongoing. Hannah wants to know, do prices of the rooms online, like the one on Facebook, contain expenses? I assume with expenses you mean like utilities, light, gas, electricity, that kind of stuff. We don't know. It depends on the landlord. I've been in private housing that it was included, but sometimes it was extra on top of it, so it depends. I don't know what your situation is.
When I moved privately, you often have to sort it yourself. It's not too much effort, but with rooms that you subrent or something like that, that's usually included in what you will pay.
Yeah, depends. One second. So wait, let's go to Liam first. If Liam wants to know, if you plan to live here for a couple of years, would you recommend looking for reserve accommodation first and then the regular accommodation after the first year?
Definitely, good plan. Yeah, I like that. So the reserved is perfect because you can reserve it away and you have it guaranteed for 1 year. The regular accommodation, you have to visit these present yourself evenings or via Skype, like we said. And they're not guaranteed, so you have to go to multiple, and it's a lot more certain with the reserved. And then you're here, you can attend these evenings and present yourself a lot better.
Yeah.
Than online.
Yeah. I think. So yeah, do it. Manusos wants to know if all the 4 housing providers are part of the reserved accommodation program, and do they have different deadlines to sign up for a place? The answer is yes and yes, they are part. So if you go to uu.nl/housing and you actually go to the left-hand column, we'll have reserved accommodation in there. Click on them, you'll see them there. when you click on the individual ones, you'll see which one applies to you. Well, first, actually, Manusos, when you go to the website, you have to enter if you're an exchange student or if you're a degree-seeking student. Based on that, you will be guided to the correct information for you. But yeah, they're all part of it. They all have different deadlines and procedures. So you have to check the website. So
Filippo's got a question for me.
Mm-hmm.
Is there the same up for grub mentality that there is in London with furniture? So is stuff available for cheap or for free?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the good examples is, yeah, it is. And often you can give them some beers or some wine or some chocolate. I've seen a wardrobe be sold for a box of chocolates or something. So it's very much, yeah, if you can haggle it down, yeah, then yeah, it's all game. So I wouldn't be worried about that at all.
Okay. Let's see what else is coming in. So guys, I would say we have about 15 minutes left. So ask your questions. Oh, I think we already answered this one from Dennis. Are the viewings taking place throughout the year? So yeah, they are throughout the years. Just as soon as a room becomes available, we already did that. So another question from Victoria. Would you recommend to rent a flat in Amsterdam, or will it take too much time to commute back and forth from university? Well,
I think the only city that's maybe worse than renting in Utrecht is Amsterdam. So
in terms of finding a place,
yeah.
Yeah, she means in terms of commuting.
In terms of traveling, it's not a problem. I think Amsterdam is.
It does depend on where in Amsterdam you live, I would say. I think it's doable, but yeah, it depends where. I commute from Rotterdam every day, so I mean, door to door, my commute is 1 hour and about 15 minutes. So go figure. But yeah, it is doable. But finding a place in Amsterdam is also not easy, so that's another thing. Xin wants to know which area is the most student-friendly and safe.
Student-friendly, there's the cheaper areas like Overvecht, which is in the north, or Canale Eiland is in the southwest, and Lunette is a small kind of suburb in the south. They're a little bit cheaper because they're from the city centre, so obviously more students live there. In terms of safe, I'd say any place is as safe as the other ones. There's no black spots, black areas where you should avoid. It's really not one of those cities. Yeah, I personally live near the north, so it's cheaper. You have more room for your money, and it's still only 5-10 minutes to the city centre. So I'd say that's a good trade-off. Yeah. For rather than living on top of the dome tower. I don't know, on top of the dome tower.
On top of the dome tower.
That's a bit more expensive.
I wouldn't want that anyway. You'd be woken up every morning by yourself. Shashank wants to know, is it common for students to cook their own meal? I think it's a very Dutch thing for students to cook their own meal.
It's a nice social occasion. I think a lot of students like to cook together and have a nice evening where you have food, and that's one of the really nice selling points of being an international, is that you can say, well, I can cook lots of nice, interesting food rather than potato. So it's cooking is a big part of student culture. Yeah. Obviously, if you're not that good at cooking, there are canteens here in the city. Yeah, and there's restaurants and stuff. So,
I personally, I don't think going out for dinner in the Netherlands and Utrecht is super cheap. No. So I think still with the supermarkets that we have here, I know, for example, like fresh produce and like vegetables and stuff is way cheaper here, for example, than in countries like the US or Canada, or I don't know where it's like in the UK, but you can get like quality food here for not mega expensive. So it's actually worth cooking yourself. So yeah. Alexander has a good question.
How is the nightlife in Utrecht? That's
very important.
Obviously being a student, you're out more than maybe you should be. I definitely used to go out more than when I had my internship, but it's a typical Dutch student city, so there's plenty of bars, plenty of cafes, nightclubs, all that kind of thing. So it's also lots of different music scenes. There's a lot of techno, a lot of hardstyle, if you're into that, but then there's also a lot of your classics, your 90s, 80s, 70s 2000s. So there's something for everyone, I'd say. It's a fun city.
Yeah. And then I think also, because we're such a small country in the weekends, it's very easy to just hop on a train and go to Amsterdam or go to Rotterdam, where a lot is happening as well. So
that's not
you have a lot of stuff. Agnes wants to know if there's going to be a welcome week. There is actually an introduction, an orientation, I think weekend. It's even now this year. You should get information about that soon, but if you want to beat us, just go already to welcome to Utrecht.nl, and I think it's already listed there. But yeah, there is, and you will meet fellow students. There's going to be a lot of fun activities. You're going to meet with the student associations. There's going to be like language courses or courses about like cultural and social integration. You can taste some like Dutch snacks and stuff. So yeah,
that's the highlight. The snacks.
No, the snacks are the highlight. Wonderful. All right, let's see what other questions there are out there. I just saw one. Urania wants to know if it's possible to find housing without being in Utrecht. And you mean only via internet? Well, yeah, technically, yes and no. Yes, if you're opting for the reserved program, the reserved accommodation, which you can reserve from the comfort of your own home. Except that the problem is that we cannot guarantee it, and it's very limited. And then, like Josh just answered the question from one of the guys, is it possible to do one of those group viewings via Skype? If it is possible, like if that house lets you, then of course you also found it via internet. Yeah, it is possible, but I wouldn't say it's
always, once you're here, it's always 5 times easier, because you can go to the places, you can see them, you can get a feel for the city as well, because some people, before they move here, they think certain areas are really far away. But in actuality, when you have a bike, when you're traveling by bus, for example, it's all a lot smaller than it seems on a map.
Yeah.
I mean, so yeah, it's always better to have a feel of the city when you want to try and find something. So.
Yeah, if you have some time and budget, just arrive a bit early, because it is nicer, it is better.
Yeah.
Jessica wants to know. Well, there you go. Let's see how your creative, spontaneous skills are. What's a good message to send to landlords at Funda or Ferrarius, the website where you can find housing? Could you provide us with an example?
Yeah. So my private housing I found through Ferrarius, and I just said who I was. I'm an international student from the UK, studying here long term. I think people like to know that you're committed to staying there for longer term. If you are, that's definitely an advantage. Say what your hobbies are, depending, because Ferrarius and Funda are more housing agents than students. So you want to appear a bit more professional to them. Say that you're a student, where you're from, your plans here in Utrecht. And just appear interested. Is good.
And you know that you're sending a different message if it's only a landlord versus a message that goes to like a group viewing, right?
Yeah. So there's a big difference between who is going to read my message. If it's for a group viewing to the students, you want to be cool and hip and trendy. If it's to a landlord or a housing agent,
then you're very serious, and you don't do parties.
No, never.
No, but you get the message. So I hope that helps, Jessica. Vincent wants to know if it's possible to find accommodation if you visit in May. So you're starting in September. We can't guarantee anything, Vincent. That is the trickiest thing. Let's say you come just visit for a week or two in May. I don't know.
I think if you do your homework before you come and you line up the viewings for when you are here, that's definitely that's definitely an advantage to be here for the viewings.
Yeah.
But again, it can take a lot longer than you expect. It can take sometimes months for some people. So don't get your hopes up, but it's definitely a technique that you could try to improve.
And if not May, like how early would you recommend to arrive?
I'd give yourself 2 months. If you have absolutely nothing, maybe 2 months is a good buffer.
So like end of June?
Yeah.
All right.
So everyone's kind of thinking about September by then. Yeah. Because right now I'm still busy studying. Yeah. I know people who will have rooms, aren't thinking about renting them out for the summer. So for September, so too early is bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The timing is very delicate. Yeah, exactly. I hope that helps, Vincent. Julia wants to know if sharing a room is common for UU students. Only with SSH short stay, actually, Julia. So it's a limited number of rooms that you share in the Netherlands. It's very common to share a house. So you'll have your private sort of bedroom / living room, whatever.
Yeah.
It's one room, and then you'll share the bathroom and the kitchen.
It's not like your typical American dorm. No. It's your own private bedroom.
Yeah.
Usually with a sink as well.
Yeah.
But then you share a common living room and kitchen, which I think is actually the best way to live.
Yeah.
You get the social contact as well.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you have, but you also have
your own space.
Still your own space, you know. It's not like like you said. And let's see, there is another question here. 1 second. So Farad wants to know, or supply and demand for housing is in equilibrium. You said it's a demanding task, so you're worried. Yes, I understand that you're worried. I understand that all of you are watching this, and finding housing is quite a scary thing, especially if two people who are very comfortable here and both have housing are telling you that it's a demanding task. Yeah, no, the answer is actually, unfortunately, not. The demand for student housing is actually higher than the supply. There are a lot of houses being built. I know that every year we already know about new apartments and housing being built for the next year, but of course, that doesn't always help the situation for this upcoming year. The only thing that we can say is that we're here for you in terms of tips and tricks. We have a lot of resources online, and also for all your contact information, you can get in touch with us. So I understand that you're worried. I think everyone here would love to just say, don't worry, it's all going to be fine. In that sense, hey, here's a house, come and get it. But just do your research and start on time. And I think we're answering. Oh no, that's it. I think you guys don't have any more questions for us. If there are any questions that we were not able to answer during the chat, you can see the contact information on the website. So you guys, first of all, please go to uu.nl/housing and read everything. And actually, we're also available, or the housing team is available on WhatsApp. You can email them on studentservices@uu.nl per phone. You can come to the university, contact us in any way for your questions. All join the Facebook group for sure, because then you can sort of get to know each other already and ask each other if you have tips and tricks for each other. We hope you enjoyed this webinar. We will send you a link tomorrow. Thank you very much for tuning in wherever you are in the world. Thank you, Josh.
My pleasure, yeah.
And we hope to see you all in Utrecht this summer.
Hope to see you next year, yeah.
Bye, guys. Bye. Thank you.